Okay, you're good to go.
All right, great. So we're going to do the 13.0 engineering-wide retrospective based off of what's in the Google Doc. Thank you to everyone for putting great content in. We're going to only verbalize the items that we have verbalized next to them, which are things, either action items or things that we think multiple teams would benefit from hearing from, which is a judgment call, of course. But with that, I counted it, and there's a little less than 30 items. So let's, on average, try to keep the discussion on each one to about a minute so we can get through all the items. So with that, let's go through the retrospective, previous retrospective improvement tasks. And Ricky, do you want to kick us off with yours?
Sure, thank you. So I'm following up from a process change that we made in the last milestone to put a little bit more emphasis on pulling from the right when looking for new work. So that was just encouraging engineers on my team to see what they could contribute to tickets that were in flight, like a code review or a follow-up, in order to try and push those tickets along. I think that emphasis, combined with being a bit more pragmatic on how many issues we scheduled for the milestone, led to us drastically reducing the amount of issues that we were carrying from milestone to milestone. So specifically for us, whereas in the previous milestone, we carried over 13 issues, in this milestone, we ended up only carrying over 6. So I think it was notable success.
Awesome. Do you consider this one complete, this action item complete? It sounds like it.
I would think so, yeah.
Great. Lindsay, you've got the next one?
Sure. As part of the feedback that we received in 1210, we worked to improve the process in our planning where the definition of the handoff from PM and UX to engineering. We're still investigating and trying to understand the improvements that we've made there, and we're still working on that. But additionally, we're starting to look at other parts of the process to improve within Defend, such as the refinement stage, and making sure that we have good definitions of what's expected for engineers in the refinement stage. So we're hoping that with the conclusion of 13.0, we'll have a better idea of the improvements that we've made from our planning efforts.
Awesome. Consider this one complete, Lindsay, or not just yet?
I don't think this will ever be complete, but I think as far as our goals that we had from the 1210 feedback, it is.
Awesome. Michelle, you've got the next one?
Yeah, I'm speaking about feature flag training, and there's a link there. So many people have contributed to it, so I really appreciate that. Since last month, there's a Google Slides presentation that was created. It's in work in progress form right now, but it covers our existing documentation. However, Camille has done a lot of really amazing work to change how we actually use feature flags and make them more maintainable. So I think at this point, I should probably pause on the Google Slides presentation because it will provide a video of how to add a feature flag, which will be changing in the next few weeks. So that's my update. I think we should pause.
And I noticed later on, one team had an area to improve as to learning more about feature flags. So I think that team, all teams, but that team in particular, can take a look at what your team put together.
Yeah, so on that note, I'm more than happy to add the Google Slides presentation how it is, remove some of the work in progress things to the onboarding template. There's already a feature flag training template as part of this retrospective, so I can certainly do that as well.
Awesome. Kyle, you've got the next one? Or actually, Joanna's going to verbalize.
Yep. So this is a follow-up from the last retrospective where there was a request to make reviewer roulette a little bit more intelligent as far as time zones go. So either to pick somebody who's in the same time zone as the person who created the merge request, or someone who's just starting their day. And we're targeting 13.1 to add time zone data to reviewer roulette.
Thanks, Joanna. And the last one from previous ones, Neil?
Well, thanks, Wayne. So yeah, within Secure, we get a lot of community contributions, especially on our security scanners. We want to ensure that these receive the appropriate attention, especially in terms of our response time. So having an SLO that our contributors can expect. So we have a work in progress. This is definitely not complete, but right now we have a report getting generated. So it's a GitLab bot that will send out a weekly report showing us which MRs need attention, as well as our SaaS team is specifically creating a community manager rotation that will allow that team to reserve capacity for support needs, which includes this community contribution support as well.
Great. So I'll add this one to the next one so you can give an update then. And Michelle and Kyle, it sounds like yours are, and Joanna, Michelle and Joanna, it sounds like yours are primarily complete from a retrospective perspective, so we don't need to add it to the next meeting. Would you agree?
I would agree.
Okay, great. So in terms of what went well this month, in terms of collaboration, Clement, you have the first one.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight the Monitor Health team. We worked on building out alert management from plan to minimal in one release. So we were, majority of us were swarming a feature, and having a feature Slack channel was very valuable. I believe it's something that is already documented, but not many teams may be aware of this. We haven't done this in a while. And that definitely helped prevent work duplication, miscommunication. There was still a little bit here and there, but it definitely decreased that.
I think many teams can benefit from that pattern, already do and can in the future. It's great stuff. Cheryl, you've got the next one to verbalize?
So on Verify CI, we noticed that in one particular feature we were working on, having that early sync collaboration between front-end and back-end folks helped to identify not only the best approach, but aligning on an efficient and iterative solution. So essentially, they benefited from jumping on a Zoom call to work out loud and problem solve together. And then that helped to align the understanding and agreed on an overall approach.
Thanks, Cheryl. Craig, you've got the next one to verbalize?
Yeah, thanks. I recently spun up an initiative based on a suggestion from the database team to increase the number of database reviewers. A lot of our reviewers had converted to trainee maintainers. Thank you for the effort on that. And what the result was, we had 0 database reviewers, and our maintainers were just getting overloaded with the number of MRs they had to review month over month. So the initiative was to get database reviewers in there so we could better spread out that first review load. And we had a fantastic response from within engineering. We went from 0 to 10 pretty quickly. And we're still looking to add a few more, but we're in a much better spot now. And I've spoken with a lot of the database reviewers, and they feel like the load of the first review is much more manageable and much more reasonable. So it's been a fantastic benefit. And thanks to all of those who have signed up or even considered signing up. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. Joanna, you have the next one?
Yep. So we collaborated with infrastructure and the runner team to roll out more efficient usage of the GitLab CI runners. So basically, we're spinning up more runners when there's peak usage time, and then when there's not, we bring those down. This is helping with our cost savings in CI.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we have a number of different initiatives in flight or planned to help with spending the company's money wisely. So this is just one of many things. It's great stuff. So under results, Clement, you have the first one.
Yeah, so this is also a paradigm that I think a lot of teams are starting to adopt more, but just a data point, we were moving, when we were building alert management, we were doing more GraphQL and to help separate out front-end and back-end concerns, and that really helped us move faster. So just another data point for other people that are also considering moving away from REST API.
Neat. Craig, the next one under results is yours, I believe.
So for a little while, the memory team's been working on the processing of pipelines. In this milestone, we're able to roll out the atomic processing of pipelines. The results are quite comprehensive in the first link that I give there. The summary, I'll just read the very last summary. There was a reduction in CPU, database duration time, and reduction in all maximum values. Some of the highlights are listed above, but it's been just a fantastic benefit from all the testing and actually running in production that we've seen so far. So I would encourage everyone to take a look at the results. It's been great.
I put verbalize on this one primarily because you said they were amazing results. They sure
They are. I mean, you can see the top 2 or 3 there, like significantly better duration times for pipeline ID for process worker, 70% duration reduction. 90% average duration times for pipeline JSON API. So it's just across the board, we saw some significant improvements. There were a couple spots where it got a little bit worse, but they were all reasonable changes, and overall the benefits far outweigh any regressions that we saw. So,
neato. Joanna, you have the next one?
Yep. Sorry, I lost the spot.
K, it's letter K.
Thank you. Yep, so we're making progress on our CI spending. We're targeting 30% by the end of Q2.
Good stuff. IP, you've got the next one to verbalize? I don't know if IP is on. So I'll take it then. So IP's team ecosystem has been able to ship a lot of updates to our contributor experience in 13.0. Includes work on our design system, GitLab development kit, and front-end development tools. We're working on an unfiltered blog post to share these improvements with the wider community. Good stuff there. So under communication, Cheryl, you have the first one.
Thanks, Wayne. So we found that having our 13.0 planning issue was really helpful in the last milestone on Verify CI. Not only did it identify the team's goals for the milestone, including the most important direction items from product, we were also able to actually iterate on this process of using this planning issue in the last 2 milestones with the rest of the team to really bridge an understanding of what its purpose is. And I think it's a great tool to have to allow actually product and engineering to collaborate effectively on that single source of truth. And then we've also been encouraging really transparent discussions in that same issue. So it's been really helpful.
Good stuff. Nick, you have the next one under communication. If Nick's on, so I'll read that. So by communicating expectations about the status of in-progress work earlier, we avoided last-minute uncertainty and a rush around the 17th that we have felt in recent milestones. So definitely communication expectations, in my opinion, no, that's definitely key to communicate those things as early as possible. Now switching over to what went wrong this month. Under quality, Neil, do you want to verbalize the first one, 2B?
Sure. So yeah, with Insecure, we had a major bug slip through, and that sparked a conversation about how was this tested, to what extent we did manually testing within our review and maintainer process. And we identified that a major barrier is that it's complicated, especially within our security. We have a lot of scanners, lots of different data sets, and having projects that we can pull down locally to just get spun up and up and running really very quickly. So our initiative is to make sure we have standard review apps or common projects that are easy to set up to verify certain features. And I think we're going to start this iteration with a demo. We definitely do have a number of these common projects, and we just want to publicize, to the group how this might work through an example.
Good stuff. Mac, you have the next item under quality.
So thanks. This is from Ramya, the dev quality engineering team. So there was a change that slipped through and broke a test, and we know that we could have been prevented easily by running the end-to-end packaging QA job. So we do have a task to track on our side to because the whole suite runs really long. We're going to do some change detection via label or other mechanisms to just run experiment the subset of end-to-end tests that can be enabled automatically. This also has to be harmonized with the cost cutting and duration of CI that we are managing. So it's multiple levels that we are navigating, but we do track the corrective actions here.
Good stuff. Under collaboration, Clement, you have the first one.
Yeah, so for our teams, we noticed that the database reviews can be quite difficult. Just the requirements changing and trying to keep up with them, and also explain some of the plans and database lab can be tedious. I think that's something that's good for us to track and see what we can do. So I'm happy to take that on.
And good. This one seems like a good one to have an action item to track. Would you agree? See you nodding. Okay. And Craig, do you want to verbalize your comment?
Yeah. Happy to follow up with Clement and whoever else wants to participate on that to make sure this experience is better and provide whatever resources we can from the database team.
Thanks, Craig. Next thing to improve under iteration, Cheng Zheng, can you verbalize?
There was one didn't make into the release, and there's something that we have to watch. And we talked about the team felt that we need to keep the iterative approach in mind and to achieve faster iteration and reduce the frustration. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. So now under items to improve in results, Darva, you've got the next one.
Thank you. Some of our milestones have been jeopardized due to team members adding additional work during the release. And so we just want to make a point moving forward that unless it's in support of the deliverables for the current milestones, that the engineers just remember to create an issue and set it to planning breakdown so that we can schedule it and put it through without jeopardizing our current deliverables.
Good stuff. Under efficiency, Donald, you have the next one to verbalize.
Yeah, so we had a couple issues in 13.0 that essentially went straight to our ready for development workflow and into the milestone. After starting dev on it, there was some back and forth on what the final feature would look like. But unfortunately, the milestone was halfway over. We can no longer deliver it in that milestone. So we need to make sure at a minimum, we get an issue into planning breakdown, make sure there is a small amount of questions as possible before fully committing to it.
Makes sense. Thanks, Donald. Also under efficiency, Elliot, can you verbalize the item you have here?
Yeah, so in this past milestone especially, we had a lot of issues with the slow and flaky pipelines, and that kind of all started snowballing with using merge streams and getting towards the end of the milestone, and it caused a lot of stress and frustration. So we've already opened an issue to kind of break down some of the root causes and address them, and a lot of them, especially the more frustrating ones, have already been addressed, but we'll be tracking it in that linked issue.
So it sounds like probably not worth tracking as a retrospective action item since it's already in, or a lot of the work has already been done based on
a lot of the work's already been done, and like the new ones, it's the kind of remaining stuff is almost like, hey, as soon as we lifted this rock and saw what's underneath it, there's some other things we could do that weren't actually the cause of the problems, but like, why not improve them while we have that context? So
makes sense.
Yeah.
So Joanna, related item that you put in.
Yep, thanks. So we haven't made a big impact on decreasing the MR duration yet. The average is still about 60 minutes, but the quality department does have a KR for Q2 to try to bring that down to 45 minutes on average.
And I saw, Mech, you put in the link to the KR, so I don't think we tracked a separate action item just for that. I think it's already tracked elsewhere. Thumbs up. Excellent. So under team, last one on what didn't go well, and team and Donald, can you verbalize, actually the last two. Donald, can you verbalize your item?
Yeah, so a few team members noted that they're feeling a bit tired. I think it's primarily due to background stress caused by the global pandemic we're in. People have been taking time from work off, which is good, but of course, time off of work doesn't alleviate much of the stress from the external sources. So I think we've just given into the reality that while everything's going on, velocity is going to suffer a bit, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Ramya, Mech, you had an item from Ramya that's related.
Yes, it's echoing the same thing. I think we'll have to lean on our values. So the same has been echoed from our team, not just new members, but members that have been here for a while as well. So it's being felt across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, we have to definitely make sure we're keeping family and friends first, work second. That's easy to say, not always easy to do in details, but always keeping that in mind, and using the company resources that are available for folks that want assistance, and where there's assistance that you can get. So good stuff that this is verbalized and this is brought up. Under how we can improve, Ricky, you've got the first one under communication.
Thank you. Yeah, so there was some issues and misunderstandings around at what point in the feature flag lifecycle does the release post for a feature warrant getting merged into the milestone. It's all very, very clear in the process that I linked there about like what the expectation is. I think I should have just done a better job of staying on top of that and communicating that to my team properly. So that would have alleviated the confusion that we ended up having.
Good. The related to what Michelle, the action item that you discussed earlier. This is the one that in particular jumped out at me. Donald, you got the next one?
Yeah, so a few engineers noted that reviews were a bit higher in 13.0, maybe because we're getting more team reviews in addition to the non-team or domain expert reviews. We've been updating our status to add capacity when needed, but do think there may be other statuses where we're still available for team or domain expert reviews. We also had conversations around whether engineers feel comfortable turning down reviews if they don't have the time. A few engineers on the team reiterated that this is definitely acceptable.
Good stuff. Under results and how we can improve, Darva, you've got the item we're going to verbalize.
All right. So I just wanted to emphasize that results are important, but that team members should not overwork themselves in order to achieve those results. We had a really healthy discussion about this and burnout, in our retrospective, especially during the times that we're encountering right now. So there's a link right here to give you all some insight into what we discussed.
Great, and my browser just crashed, so who's next? While I find my spot again. Oh, just came back up. So process and Craig.
Yeah, my browser crashed too. So many people in the doc had locked up. Yeah, so what we're noticing on the database team was so much focus on the big picture. So kind of the opposite of forest for the trees, right? That we were missing we were not focusing positively on some of the smaller and more iterative improvements that we could make. So we made a concerted effort to bring those back in and set weekly goals on what improvements we can make from the database perspective while still continuing to iterate on our plans for sharding is the big picture item that we're looking at right now. So just making some changes to make sure that we focus, that we have a good balance of big picture and incremental improvements.
Nice. Jerome, you've got the next item?
Yeah, so our team put together a usage ping guide and some tooling for teams to start implementing their own usage pings and metrics. And we've got this initiative for teams to have North Star metrics. So as a result, we've got 36 groups which are now implementing all of their own telemetry. We implemented something called a telemetry review so that we could keep an eye on this since it was still somewhat flaky. But what it's resulted in is a lot of extra work. Basically a lot of reviews for us. So we're looking at ways which we can scale this process now. So implementing more tooling, more self-serve documentation, and eventually deprecating the reviews.
Awesome. And I saw that you're going to add, you're okay with adding this as an action item. Good stuff. Yeah. So let's see here. Under efficiency, Darva?
All right. We had another healthy conversation on our team in the retrospective regarding how to work more efficiently. And we all shared tips on what we do and how we spend time during our workday. And one really good tip that came out was to audit ourselves for a week to see where we're spending our time, and maybe we can give better capacity estimates and make better usage of our time as well. So there's a link to that conversation if you all are interested.
Thanks, Darva. So that's all we were planning to cover today. Specifically in the doc, what we wanted to say is we've got there's been some great feedback on the template for the retrospective issue, so that the next one will be great. It'll be a bit better. So for all the feedback I've received, I'm going to incorporate that in an MR and get that in. If there's other feedback, feel free to do that yourself on putting in changes to it to improve it. And also happy to get feedback. This is the first time I'm running this meeting, so if there's any feedback on that, feel free to send it my way. With that, I think we're done. Thanks, everybody. And 2 minutes early. Sweet. Have a great day.